Hi guys, it's Kelly here and I am back with another video. Today's video is featuring some products from Honeybee Stamps. That is the fancy snowflake cover plate, the lovely layer snowflakes, the Let It Snow, and then I am going to use the holiday mini messages, but we're not making holiday cards. So you're going to need watercolor paper, and then we're going to do some ink smushing. It has to be watercolor paper. I use Canson Monteval, but you can use whatever you would like. But you do need watercolor paper. And then basically we're just going to smush our inks down. Now, before we get too far along, I am going to have to introduce to you our special guest for this video, because you're going to be seeing these little teeny tiny hands. There they are. So she was, Eric had brought her home as I was doing this card, and so she wanted to come in and see what mommy was doing, and so I asked her if she would like to make a card. So she got up in my lap and was helping me. If you are interested, and I know not everybody is, but I know some of you will be. And so at the end of the video, this portion is in with the actual audio and her playing with stickers and some other stuff. But for the tutorial part, I didn't want to leave that in, even though she did help. She did help me make my background. So we're just going to do some ink smushing. Now, you can do this. This one's going to end up being my background piece, but you can do the ink smushing and then the die cutting, or the die cutting and then the ink smushing, however which way you would like to do it. And I wanted to point that out, so that's why I left both in. So this one will end up being my background. This one is the one that is, again, it's watercolor paper. So we're going to cut one out of watercolor paper. This is, like I said, the fancy snowflake cover plate. This is an older product, but it's a great, great product. And so we're going to cut it once out of watercolor paper, and then we're going to cut it 3 more times out of regular cardstock. I'm just using my Honeybee Pokey tool to go ahead and pop all of these things out. And I did end up having like an enormous pile of little pop-outs, which I just scooped into my trash can. But you can do this with any die. I'm doing it with a cover plate because it's going to give me 2 cards. And you can actually do more. Like, truly, this is one of those ones where if you wanted to make multiples with very minimal work, you absolutely could. But basically what we're going to do is some faux letterpress that's going to look watercolor. So we have all of these ones that we have die cut out here. These are the regular cardstock ones. You want to set aside the one that is the watercolor paper because that one has to go on top. The reason it has to go on top is because regular cardstock will absorb your ink and it's not going to transfer. You have to have the watercolor paper, which has that coating on it that will what is the word that I want? I keep thinking reflect, but that's not it. Resist. It will resist absorbing the ink, so the ink can sit on top. Now, I've seen Jennifer McGuire do a very similar technique, and she uses vellum as the part that does the resist, that holds the ink without absorbing it. But this way, using the watercolor paper, you actually end up being able to use both pieces. So again, I've stacked up 3 of these. I'm just making sure everything is lined up. These are all just the regular cardstock. For me, that's Nina 80 pound, but you use whatever you would like. And then for the top piece is going to be that watercolor paper. I skipped all the gluing because it does take a minute to get the glue everywhere. But then once you have everything glued together with that watercolor paper on top, then this would be the point where you would do your ink smushing. Here I'm just going in and checking to make sure any of the little pieces aren't sticking up and everything is adhered. You can see this is pretty thick. And that's exactly why it's going to work for our letterpress technique. Here, I wanted to show you, you could use this as just white and it would be beautiful. I maybe put a glitter layer on top, but that's not what we're doing. You can also see, because I let my wonderful daughter help me, that my picked raspberry is a little contaminated with some villainous potion, but it's fine. The more I use it, it will, come off the top surface and it will go back to its regular color, or definitely when I re-ink it, it will go back to its regular color. So I'm using the same colors I did before. which I did not mention. I just picked ones I thought would be pretty for snowflakes. So picked Raspberry, Villainous Potion, Mermaid Lagoon, and Uncharted Mariner. I do find that this works better with darker colors versus pastels. And then so here, I didn't have my sandwich right, but don't worry, we'll get it right. You want to put down a clean piece of watercolor cardstock. You want to spritz what we have put our ink on, the die cut piece. I can already tell there's not enough pressure here. I am going to need an embossing mat. I do have the universal plates. So what I used was the A and B plate, then the E, which I believe is the embossing mat, and then the D, which is the adapter plate. That's what I used for mine. And what this is doing is it's pressing that cardstock and that ink into the base, the clean piece of watercolor paper. And it's going to not only transfer the ink, but it's going to transfer an impression. Don't pull these apart right away. You have to heat them. If you try to pull them apart right away, you will rip your paper. So you have to heat it until you start to see the edges kind of curling up. And even then you're going to see, I'm going to check it and the center is not dry. If you start to pull it up and you get any resistance at all, then you want to make sure you stop and keep heating it, because it means that that part isn't dry yet and it will rip your paper. So you got to heat it up until you're sure everything is dry, and then you should be able to just lift up your piece pretty easily without any resistance, and then you will have two pieces. You'll have the impression, and then you will have the one that we put the ink on. Now, the die cut that we put the ink on, you can keep using this. You can ink it up again and do impression after impression. I think the first time that I did it, I ended up doing like 3 or 4 cards. I didn't need that many cards this time, but you absolutely can do it. You just need to do a fresh ink application, spray with water, and do the technique again. But you don't have to do the cut out portion, the die cut portion. Here, I'm just using some iridescent spray. I thought I was going to use my Perfect Pearls, but I wanted it to be really shimmery kind of all over. And because it was already dry, I wouldn't get that with Perfect Pearls. I would just get the spatters. This one is the one that Jelly Bean and I did. I sprayed it down with water to get the pigment moving, and then I added some more of that shimmer spray. I believe the one that I used is from Hero Arts, and it does have a little bit of a pink cast, but that's no problem for this because of the colors that I chose. So now you'll see I'll be using the one that we did all the die cutting with on top of that background, and then I'm also die cutting. These are the Lovely Layers snowflakes, the large ones. They have 2. And so I've cut these again out, the ones on the left, the smaller ones, I've cut them out of watercolor paper. The one on the right, I cut out of glitter cardstock. It got a little lost. So I ended up using one of the Let It Snow die cuts. It matches one of the snowflakes, but I didn't stamp the snowflake. I just did the just use the background die cut to give myself something for my snowflake to rest on that was solid. So that way it wouldn't kind of fade into the background, which is the problem I was having. I am going to ink these up the same way that I did before. Again, these are done out of watercolor paper, so the pigment should move the same exact way. You can see how, like, when you swipe your ink pad across, because those Lovely Layers snowflakes have a really beautiful embossed detail, when you swipe over top of them, the embossed detail stays white, which is super, super cool. So even when I spray them, that embossed detail will be lighter than the area that I put the pigment directly on. Now, that's not the case for the other one because it has no embossed detail. It's meant to, die cut out a stamped image, but that's okay. I don't want the detail for that one since I have that glitter snowflake that's going to go on top. I'm going to spray these down, and immediately that pigment, is super vibrant, comes to life. I did choose, because these were still wet, to use my Perfect Pearls for these ones because I wasn't going to get the spatters. If you do Perfect Pearls while your items are still wet, it will spread. And it provided a nice kind of contrast because the Perfect Pearls is a white, where the other one that we sprayed is definitely more of a pink cast. So those are those. And then while we set those, those I dried down. You can let them dry naturally or you can dry them with a heat tool, whichever works. And here I'm just double checking to make sure that I'm going to have enough contrast and that I'm happy with the way that they're looking. So for the ones that are kind of on the pressed image, I noticed that they were maybe blending in a little too much. So I am going to do a little trick to kind of raise them up and help them pop off the background. For the sentiments, like I said, this is the mini messages, and they have dies that match these, and then they have like everyday mini messages. These ones are the holiday, but not all of them are holiday. So I chose warm winter wishes and with lots of love because I can turn then both of these into birthday cards by changing what I stamp on the inside of the card, and I always need birthday cards. So I stamped those after I treated with my anti-static tool in the brilliant white pigment ink from Honeybee. And I'm using white detail embossing powder to put over there and heat set that so it's nice and glossy and super clean. And then we're going to work on putting them together. This is not a long video from me as far as the technique, because there's no coloring, none of that. And it goes pretty fast because I didn't make, multiples, but you absolutely could. But the video is longer because we have that little, the little guest at the end. So there's probably about, I don't know, 4 or 5 minutes at the end of mine and her interaction. And I really hope that one day, Peanut has kind of grown out of it now where he doesn't want to card make with me anymore. He still likes drawing and stuff, but he likes doing his own thing. But I really, really hope that Jelly Bean wants to make cards with me someday. Here's hoping, fingers crossed and all that jazz. So putting them together, I did decide to stack my glitter snowflake on top of another white snowflake just to give it just a little bit more weight. And then I will adhere that to the one that we did that was solid before I adhere it to my card, just because this cover plate is so intricate and it's beautiful. I love this cover plate. There's another one that they have that's very similar that's called Autumn Splendor, that's like leaves and acorns and stuff. This technique would be great for that as well. But like I said, you can do this with any die cut. If you're watching this and you're like, Kelly, I love this, but I have a budget. Oh, the sale. I didn't even think about that. The Honeybee's having a 30% off sale today, the 30th, and tomorrow, the 31st. So the link is below. I would totally appreciate if you'd shop through my link. It supports me in so many ways. But also just for yourself, if there's something that you've had on your wish list, like the sale is finally hit. I know I mentioned it the other day. But anyway, if you're watching this and you're like, I'm on a budget, I can only afford one or the other, get the Lovely Layers snowflakes, because you can then die cut them, stack them on top of each other, and make your own background. So you wouldn't need the cover plate. Like, there is a way to make it work even if you're on a budget. Or let's say maybe you have stacking, like infinity dies or stacking dies that are all the same shape. Cut out a bunch of different shaped hearts or whatever. Stack them up the same way, ink them, spray them, and you can make your own background. So you don't have to just use cover plates. I like the cover plates because honestly it's easier. It knocks out the whole card in kind of one go. Something about this card that I failed to mention was I did end up trimming off the outside frame because I wanted to pop it up. And in order to do that, I needed to have it be smaller than an A2 size card. However, once I trimmed it, I realized that I didn't like how much matte I had in the background, and so I decided to double matte it, which has been a long time since I've done that. But I matted it on white, and then I put it on a piece of teal that is the same teal color that I did my sentiments on. And now, again, remember how I told you that I felt like my snowflakes were blending into my background a little bit. Busier cards are hard for me. If you've watched my channel for any length of time, you know that that is totally true. So what I did was I cut out a bunch bunch of extra snowflakes just out of white cardstock, and then I'm going to stack them together. This is going to, you'll be able to see the white from the side, and it gives them some separation from the background because they are raised. Also, they're darker. And so it helps it to look just not as busy and that they don't blend in together. So once I have all of these stacked up, I'm going to spare you all of the stacking. Then I'll go ahead and put them on the card and adhere my sentiment, which, by the way, I did pop that up. That's the foam strips from Honeybee. They're great because they're thin. But yeah, so this is going to be my last card for 2023 because I'm not going to have one tomorrow, and tomorrow's New Year's Eve. So I'm super excited for heading into the new year. I wish you and your family a wonderful, happy new year. I will be hanging out with my family. We're doing like appetizers and stuff like we do every year, so I'm very excited for that. And this year, the way that the calendar fell, I actually get Peanut for New Year's this year, which is rare. I think I've only ever had him one time before since my divorce. So I'm very excited that he is going to be home and we're going to play games and hang out and, just ring in the new year together. I'm very excited for that. So I hope that you guys have a wonderful new year. Thank you so much. Again, I know I told you in yesterday's video, just thank you so much for your support in this year as we're kind of learning and going and doing on this kind of art journey that has now become my full-time job. I always appreciate you guys. Last thing that I did, there's so much shimmer on these cards, like I really didn't need to add any more, but I love a rhinestone. And so for this one, I used the Winter Wonder. It's a great mix of like whites, iridescent, and blues. So they fit kind of perfectly, these little snowflake themes. And so I used those. I did put some into the centers of the snowflakes, not the one that had the sentiment, but just kind of to fill in a little more sparkle. So that's it. That's both cards. I hope you enjoy the little clip of Jelly Bean and I card making together. Thank you guys again so much for your time, and I will see you in the new year. Bye. Here, look. Here, okay, let's pull up your sleeves. Shoop, shoop, shoop.
Oh, what's that?
That's ink. Here, take the lid off.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, now we're going to take this, turn it upside down. Okay, ready? Smush, 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 smush. Smush, 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 smush.
Mom, what's the blue, okay?
Yeah, it's blue. Good job. Can we put the lid back on?
Yeah.
Here, put it on. Put it on.
Right there?
Yeah? Should we do this one?
Yeah.
Okay, take off the lid.
Okay.
Okay, ready? Smush. No, not the front, the back. Ready? Smush, 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 smush.
Got purple.
Yeah, Mommy already did purple. You want to do purple again?
Yeah.
Okay. You put the lid back on? Okay, good job. Here's purple. Ready? We'll do purple again. Ready? Help me smush it. You don't want to help me?
No.
Okay. You just want to sit up here and get your fingers messy?
You can have this one.
Well, I wasn't going to use that one.
You can use that one.
Mommy wasn't going to use that one.
I will use that one.
Okay, we'll use that one. Good job.
So what's up? What back there?
Mm-hmm.
So this.
Good job. Okay, it's pretty, huh?
Look.
Okay, all right, you are getting your hands, girl. Okay. Let's clean up.
What?
Help me wipe up. Good job. Thank you.
Okay, go.
Is that recording?
Yes.
Well, that'll make some money on the YouTube.
No, we're not using that right now. Can I have your fingers?
Yeah.
Okay, let me see them. Let's clean them up. You're going to have stained fingers no matter what I do because it was dark colors.
Got sticker.
That is a sticker.
That, oh. What's a sticker, guy?
Do you want some stickers?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I do it.
Okay, you do it. Here, you gotta rip it.
Okay.
There you go.
You can put it on the table. Okay.
You're gonna put it on the table.
No, what is it? No one.
You want another one?
Yeah.
Okay, pull it off.
Like that.
Okay, like this big?
Okay.
Okay, there you go.
Go. Another one.
Another one?
No one.
Oh my goodness. Okay. That good enough?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Go.
Here. Okay, that's the last one. Last sticker. You could use these stickers if you want.
Okay. Right there.
No, not on the paper.
Right there.
Okay, very pretty.
The sticker. The sticker.
Another sticker. Not on the paper. Thank you.
Oh, what's that?
It's a pouncer.
Oh, pencil.
Mm-hmm. Don't pull it apart. Don't pull it apart. No, no, no.
Oh, what's that?
This is a bad sticker. It's a sticker that went bad.
Oh, what's that?
These are scissors and you can't play with those. They hurt babies. This is a pokey tool that stabbed your father.
What's that?
Pen.
I can't believe you still own that thing after what it did to me.
How dare I? Can Mommy finish making her card?
Yeah.
Thank you.